Anyone on Zoom? No? All right, consent items. Would anyone like to remove anything from the consent agenda? No,
There was one at number 8. Richard, so number 8, you wanted to pull?
you wanna-
I move to approve the consent agenda minus item 8.
Motion by Jeff, second by Chuck, on voting. Pass 4-0.
Mayor and council, in item number 8 in the staff report, the section number was misnumbered. And it is correct in the ordinance. So if you would just amend the motion to be section 12.07.005 instead of 032. That would do it.
Motion to approve, consent agenda item 8. With the correction of the article number being 12.07.005.
One second. Motion by Jeff, second by Randy, on vote. Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
New business, I'm gonna pull item 19 up to the front of this. Consideration and action on future meeting dates.
Mayor and council, your regular meeting in November will fall on the 28th, which is Thanksgiving Day. Your December meeting will fall on the 26th, which is the day after Christmas. In order for us to make adjustments to the submittal calendar for development, we are asking that the council consider rescheduling those meetings to allow staff time to communicate the submittal calendar and date changes to our planning, engineering, and legal teams. Also, Mayor, we need to look at a budget workshop next week so you can set the public hearing dates for the budget for your regular meeting in August on the 22nd. And item number 16 later on in the budget is a resolution for the annexation of FM 2931. And we need to set 2 public hearing dates for that as well. One of those will be your August 22nd meeting. We can do that one as you get to number 16, but just keep that one in mind when you're having your discussion regarding the changing of. Also, I had already explained to the mayor before, the September meeting would be very difficult for us to change at this time. Several notices have already gone out for annexations that will occur during that meeting. But August, October, November, December could all be moved if the council so desires.
So how many August meetings do we need? 2 special meetings and the regular?
So we need a workshop next week between the 29th and the 2nd. And then we'll need, if you keep the August meeting on the 22nd, we'll need a special meeting sometime between 8/21 and 8/29 for public hearings for roadway annexations. You need 2 public hearings because it's a roadway annexation. But if you keep your meeting at the 22nd, one can be at that meeting. And then you can decide the council between the 21st and the 29th for a second meeting. So it could possibly be, I guess, Mayor, the answer to your question is you could end up with 3 in August if you so chose.
Start with next week.
Do what?
What day next week?
I'm good with it. Next week.
Next week will be a budget workshop where you will be discussing the budget that we sent you a couple of weeks ago and some changes that have been made just today. And you'll also be discussing your tax rate. We should have your truth and taxation documents for you by then, so you can discuss that as well, and then set the public hearing for the 22nd.
Next week, either Monday or Wednesday is best for me.
Thursday's tough. I'm pretty well open, whatever you want to do. I'm retired. Just saying.
Yeah, we can't do Monday, so
Can we do Wednesday, the
Wednesday,
31st?
31st?
we'd have,
Not to brag or.
we could do Monday. Whichever day you choose, we thought we could.
I'm open, whatever.
Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday the 31st?
Wednesday. That's,
Wednesday, the 31st, 6 P.M.
gotcha.
And then our regular meeting is the 22nd.
August 22nd.
And we need one a week after that. right?
You need another meeting between the 21st and the 29th. You could have one on Wednesday, the 21st, and then the 22nd would be your second meeting. Or you can go the 23rd, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, or 30th. Or you can meet on a Saturday morning like you've done in the past if that's what you wanted to do.
I'm gonna be out the week of the 18th. I don't know if y'all do that or not. I'm gonna be on a cruise, just saying. And I'm not staying here for a meeting. I'm back to, but I'm not.
Doesn't matter to me. I could do the 21st or any day of the following week.
The next week would be better.
The week after.
Yeah, I'm good for any of those days.
We're talking about August, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. August 26th through the 30th is what I'm hearing.
Are we looking to move both, or we're just we're just adding a special meeting? We're keeping the 22nd?
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
That'll be our addition.
I won't be here on the 22nd.
Just not the Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday would be best for me that week, 26, 27, 28.
Start Wednesday, go the 28th.
That's fine. That works.
I'm open any day except Thursday.
Special meeting August 28th at 6 P.M. Correct.
Yes.
In September,
September stays.
26 is just normal, right? September just stays the 26th, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. The September meeting really needs to stay the same unless it's just an absolute that we change it because of those annexation dates that are already set.
we don't need any extra meetings.
No, sir. We clarified everything on the budget this afternoon, so you should be able to consider your tax rate and budget at your August 22nd meeting. The reason you needed that meeting the next week is we have a deadline of August 6th to get our information to the newspaper.
So October, anybody have issue with backing it up to the 20th, just go the day before on the 23rd,
Oh, in November?
October.
Oh, what's wrong with October?
The only concern I have about Wednesdays is a lot of churches have stuff going on Wednesdays, Bible studies and all that stuff.
What's wrong with October 24th?
It's a Thursday, it's gonna be football issue.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, if he's not on, well, he's not gonna be on varsity, so maybe it'll be early enough where I'm skidding in at 6 or something, hopefully.
I can move it.
Anybody can't do it.
Weather is fine.
When
So what-
October
10/23,
So we're going 23rd?
October 23rd,
and then November, December, we're moving for the holidays. After that, we should be back to our normal.
October, September staying the same, October 23rd, 6 P.M.
So last year for Thanksgiving, didn't we do it on that Tuesday instead of Thursday? No,
I don't remember.
I don't think I have. it.
Yeah.
I don't know what we did.
What day is Thanksgiving?
I think
Thursday.
that
I thought we did it the week before.
staff would really prefer that if we move it up a week.
Yeah.
It's hard to do the same week of Thanksgiving.
That's good. So 10 or 11/21.
That's gonna be a Thursday issue.
And we have court on that, the 21st as well.
For the
Oh,
20th.
The 20th. November.
That works out really good.
All right, so-
Wednesday, November 20th for your regular meeting in November.
November 20th?
And then December, instead of the 26th.
You gonna do the 19th?
You have court on the 19th. That's the
Oh.
problem with Thursdays.
Gotcha.
The first 3 Thursdays of the month are taken up. we'll be in the new council chamber by then, so it would be probably a clash with the court.
Is he still gonna use it over there? Or is he gonna use it over here?
If this is still available, they may use this, but I think that we will be fully into renovations by then.
Gotcha.
The 18th, that Wednesday, the 18th. So,
Regular December meeting on the 18th at 6 p.m.
All right.
You want me to recap those, maybe? Make sure.
I wrote them all down. I gotta remember to add over my calendar list.
I don't know. It's all right.
Are you good, Gene?
I'll just write that down.
Are you good, Gene?
We need to Make an action on that, or we're good?
We're good.
We'll go back to item number 1 then.
All right.
A presentation, hold discussion and provide direction regarding future consideration of a cost of living adjustment and updated service credit to the city TMRS plan.
Mayor and council, some interest, excuse me, some interest was shown during a previous year's budget meeting in regard to adding benefits to the current employee retirement plan. Specifically, a council member asked about the possibility of increasing the city's current contribution. That is the 2-to-1 plan that is currently in place. The 2-to-1 plan is the maximum allowable through TMRS and is the option used by a majority of member cities. There are some options that are available to the city to increase benefits for current and future retirees. One of those options is to include an annual cost of living adjustment for retirees. Currently, when an employee retires, their monthly benefit is set for life and never increases without that COLA. The city has the option to approve a repeating annual COLA adjustment based upon the formula using the Consumer Price Index. Tonight, we have a representative from TMRS, Mr. Anthony Mills, who drove in from Austin to visit with you. He will present information on the COLA option. We will include this information in future budget workshops for discussion and your consideration. A quick note of thanks to our HR director, Shana Williams, for working on the information and scheduling with TMRS to secure this presentation with Mr. Mills tonight. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Wim Mills and again say thank you for coming all the way from Austin to visit with us.
That's why he likes Texas.
That is right. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm Anthony Mills, Director of Education Services at the Texas Municipal Retirement System. It's a pleasure to be here this evening to discuss the possibility of having Aubrey eventually adopt a cost of living adjustment. While the cost of living adjustment is something that I think is pretty straightforward, in talking about it, I need to make sure that you understand the way that you go about adopting a cost of living adjustment for retirees in TMRS. It's tied to another provision in our system that is not always so easily understood. That's called the updated service credit. So we'll talk about both of those this evening. I want to reiterate something that you heard from Charles just a moment ago. The city of Aubrey joined TMRS in 1977. And when you joined TMRS, you had 4 employees. 4 employees when you joined. You now have 113 members who are contributing to TMRS. You've got 30 folks who have already retired and are still drawing a benefit from their time here at Aubrey. As you heard him say, those retirees are not getting a cost of living adjustment. Whatever they retired with is what the benefit will be going forward, unless the council chooses to adopt a cost of living adjustment. As it was stated, our cost of living adjustment provision is tied to the inflation index. That's the Department of Labor's Consumer Price Index, the CPIU. Depending on what happens with the CPIU, we look at that, and then the council gets to adopt a percentage of it. And you have 3 different options in TMRS currently. Those options would be 30% of the change in the Consumer Price Index, 50% of the change, or 70% of the change. Those would be the 3 options that you could choose from for the COLA. Now, if you were to think about this in a very straightforward fashion, if inflation has changed 3% and you adopt a 70% CPI, you're looking at a 2.1% increase. Pretty straightforward math. That's the way it works. When you adopt a COLA in TMRS and that updated service credit provision that I need to talk a little bit about, those two provisions can be adopted on a one-time basis. I just want to make sure that you know that. But I would certainly make sure that you understand that when we look at a city like Aubrey, and it is for you to decide, but when we look at a city like Aubrey, your peers, whether we're talking about geographic peers here in the county or surrounding counties, or if we're talking about cities your size, while you had 4 employees when you joined, you've got 113 now. You're considered a mid-sized city in TMRS. You're also considered in a metropolitan area. Most of those cities would have the cost of living adjustment. They would also have the updated service credit provision. The updated service credit provision, let's talk about it a little bit, because you cannot adopt a cost of living adjustment without it. You can have an updated service credit provision without a COLA, but not vice versa. You cannot have the COLA without that updated service credit. When you think of the updated service credit, here's what how I'd like to put it in context for you. In TMRS, the way that our benefit is built, all the 113 employees who work here are paying in the same 7% out of every paycheck they get. And that is the contribution that comes from the member. As you heard Charles say, you have the 2-to-1 match that the city is making for the employees. That money is also set aside. Those 2 cash credits are the primary cash credits that will ultimately be converted to a lifetime stream of income. We take that cash balance, look at your retiree's age when they leave the city, and figure out how we're going to make that cash last for life. We use what we call an annuity purchase rate based on their mortality, their age at retirement. We can project how long they're expected to live. We then simply divide that pot of money by that annuity purchase rate to come up with their payment. That's what happens. The city, if you choose to adopt an updated service credit provision, what this provision does is it takes a retroactive look at the history of the plan. The employees who have worked here, we look at what the design of the plan has been over the years. And I will point out to you that you did make one major improvement in your plan back in 2018, when you improved your matching ratio to 2-to-1. It hadn't always been 2-to-1. But you did not adopt an updated service credit provision when you adopted that 2-to-1 match. Had you adopted an updated service credit, not only would the employees who were working then have begun paying and getting a 2-to-1 match going forward prospectively, which they've done since 2018, but the updated service credit would have kicked in and would have taken a retroactive look for everyone who had been on the payroll in 2018 for more than 4 years. In 2018, when you went 2-to-1, that updated service credit would have granted them an additional cash credit to be added to that reserve that I talked about. The employees' money, the city's match, and an updated service credit, cash credit. The city shoulders the liability for that granting of that additional cash credit. But that's the retroactive piece for the active employees. The folks who have already retired, if you were to adopt an updated service credit, they are not affected by the updated service credit. They're affected by the COLA for sure, but not the updated service credit. That is only for active employees. So anyone who has been working for the city, those who have been given service to the city prior to that 2-to-1 match, part of the liability that would be taxed on to the city for adopting it would be taking that retroactive look and granting that additional credit for that benefit. And we've already captured what those numbers would look like because we know your demographics. We know who's working here, how long they've worked here, what their salaries have been, what the plan design has been, and the updated service credit and the formula that we use to actually calculate that updated service credit, we can come up with the cost to the city to grant that updated service credit. And it's all included in the packet that I brought you this evening and the one that's displayed on the screen here today. I'll point out to you that there are many different options that you're looking at in this packet. We wanted to make sure that staff had a chance to just look at several different options that would be available to you, and you can see it's dynamic depending on the option that you choose. It's a dynamic effect on the cost of your plan and the plan financials. The updated service credit, I mentioned the COLA, that you have 3 different options to choose from as far as the percentage of CPI, 70%, 50%, or 30%. You also have 3 options to choose from for the updated service credit. You could grant employees 100% of the updated service credit that's calculated for them, 75% of that credit, or 50% of the credit. And of course, the more you grant, the higher the cost. That's the updated service credit. As I said, in order for you to grant your retirees a cost of living adjustment, it has to be in concert under our current statute. And I need to say this and make sure that I put this disclaimer out there. One of the things that's being considered going into the legislature in 2025 is decoupling the updated service credit and the cost of living adjustment. So if you all don't get to adopt this by this time during this year, and I'm back out here and I tell you something different next year, I just want to put the disclaimer out there to let you know why I'm saying something different than I said here tonight. That's being considered, and we'll know how that turns out by May of 2025. But right now, you do have to adopt that updated service credit in order to grant your cost of living adjustment. Now, to not confuse issue, the cost of living adjustment, we did have a bill that passed in 2023 that gave TMRS new options on the cost of living adjustment. The cost of living adjustment now, I've described it to you as it works. We look at the change in consumer price index to figure out what percentage of that change you're going to grant your retirees. Well, it's retroactive. We look back to the date that the members first retired. And the longest retiree that you've got that's still living and drawing a benefit right now retired in 2005, January of 2005, still living and drawing a benefit. And while it's a super modest benefit for that person, that benefit has been pretty much fixed since retirement, right? But when you grant the cost of living adjustment, if you were to grant it, we're going to always go back to the original retirement benefit to see what has been the effect of inflation cumulative for all the years that this person has been retired. That's TMRS's traditional cost of living adjustment. It has always gone back to the original year of retirement to figure out what the increase would be for the year in which the council adopts the COLA. We were given a new option coming out of the last legislative session where we could go non-retroactive, where we're only going to go back one study period. We're going to look at the most recent change in inflation to figure out what the increase would be. And everyone who had retired, no matter the year in which they retired, would get the same percentage. And what I've included in the packet for you, without divulging names, you can see your retirees, those 30 folks that I've mentioned who have retired and are already drawing a benefit. What I wanted you to see is this year, if you were to adopt a cost of living adjustment on a repeating basis, what we're looking at is if you were to adopt a 30% COLA on a retroactive basis, this is not on the screen, but this is in the packet that you've got. You can see the effect of a 30% COLA, both retroactive and non-retroactive, a 50% COLA, retroactive and non-retroactive, and the 70% COLA, retroactive and non-retroactive for each of the retirees. And you can see, if you were to dive in a little deeper and do the math on it, you would see that in those non-retro columns, the percentage would be the same for the increase, because we're only going back 1 year, looking at the change in inflation for the most recent study period and granting the COLA on that. We're not going back to the original retirement date and calculating it on a cumulative basis. That's the newest option that has been available. I should point out to you, this COLA provision, the new COLA option, the non-retroactive option, it sunsets January of 2026. So a city that's looking to adopt it, it is simpler to explain, it's a simpler benefit to administer, and it costs a little less for the city because it's not a cumulative effect. It would basically start from that point going forward. If you adopt it on a repeating basis, every year your retirees would receive a COLA, but we're only going back 1 study period to grant that COLA. That would be the effect of it. And the cost of the non-retroactive, it's less than the retroactive. Part of the reason it's less, now I'll make sure that I have this be a takeaway point for you. TMRS, when a city is looking to adopt updated service credits and COLAs, I mentioned that you could adopt it on a one-time basis, but you also could adopt it on a repeating basis. And when a city is looking to make this a part of your benefits package, we would always recommend that you adopt it on a repeating ordinance rather than a one-time occasional basis, because when you do it on a one-time ad hoc basis, you're not advance funding the future cost of COLAs when a future council comes in and adopt it. If you do it on a repeating basis, what we look at is not just the cost for the current employees and retirees for updated service credits and COLAs. We're going to look at the future cost for current employees and retirees and the future retirees based on the workforce that you've got today. That is all included in the cost in each of these comparison of alternate plan designs that's in that packet, and again, on the screen for you to look at tonight. I know that it's an awful lot to wrap your minds around, but here's what I want to make sure that you think about as you consider these options. The updated service credits, it's going to grant an additional credit toward your active employees' retirement benefits when it looks retroactively to figure out whether there would be additional cash credits that would have been granted had an employee always had salary that looked more like his salary today, and had the plan always looked more like the plan that you've got today. That's what the updated service credit is doing. And then the cost of living adjustment, looking at those COLAs, we're talking about the change in consumer price index, whether you adopt it on a retroactive or non-retroactive basis, will determine how we calculate it and ultimately determine the cost. Updated service credit can be adopted alone without a COLA. The COLA cannot be adopted alone under our current statute. It has to be adopted with an updated service credit. And with that, I'll open it up for questions that you might have about these provisions.
Do we have the actual numbers of if we chose to update the service credit? With that 175 and 50, I think you said it was in the packet. Like, what would the city then be responsible for?
You mean the actual dollars, the cost? When you look at your total rate and your staff could probably give you a more definitive answer than I can give you a good estimate on what we project. Looking at your valuation payroll, It's a little over $7 million. You're looking at that percentage, the total contribution rate.
Mhm.
If you were to multiply that percentage times your payroll, that's the dollar amount that you would contribute annually. Based on your current plan, just to, Councilwoman, to put you in, to give you some idea, under the current plan that you have, we anticipate you paying in about 400,000 for the current plan at that 5.98% that you will in 2025.
We elect to contribute. Times 7.5 million.
We'll have some numbers for you at your workshop that coincide with those percentages next week.
I love the idea, because now we can bite it all off in 1 year. And we do a little bit this year and then look at it, maybe add a little bit more next year.
At your, when we do the budget workshop, we'll have a way that you can tier it. And you can revisit it each year for 3 to 4 years and tier it up if you desire. But we'll have more information for you on that at the workshop.
I should mention, I did say that the cost of living adjustment, the non-retroactive COLA that was granted last year or in 2023, the sunset provision, January 2026 would be the last year that a city could adopt the non-retroactive COLA. In the same way that we're looking at decoupling the USC and the COLA provisions, we're also looking at this next legislative session to make those provisions from that bill that passed in 2023 permanent, so that cities could adopt it on an ongoing basis. So that would be something else different that I would say next year if I were to come back. Just a disclaimer.
I don't see in the deal the 30% retroactive COLA.
Did we not include the 30%? If we look on the second page, did we not include a 30%?
There's a 30% non-retroactive.
Okay, we can get you the retroactive. Yeah, we can mix and match just about any way that you choose to. Something that you don't see, and I should say it because you all are in an area where you are in a competitive posture for employees, I would imagine. That transfer updated service credit, because you don't have updated service credit right now. The last time you adopted updated service credit, you adopted it on a one-time basis back in 1990. You did a 100% updated service credit back then. You never adopted a COLA. But you do have the option, the transfer feature in updated service credit. What it does is if you were to hire an employee that comes to you from another TMRS city, somebody who has not yet retired, but did have a TMRS account elsewhere. If you were to bring them in, say they worked at the city of Crump, and they were at a plan that was not as good as a plan that you have here at Aubrey. Nor is their salary as good, or was it as good there as it would be here. Once they've been here for 4 years, the calculation for updated service credit, if you were to grant it, if it's in place, it would go back, if you have the transfer feature, and look not just at their time here at Aubrey, but their time at Crum and any other TMRS city that they had worked for, but you would show the cost for that. I just want to make sure that you're aware of it. I didn't include it in any of the studies that we provided, but that is an option, just so that you know.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, I know it's an awful lot to listen to and to think about, but as you deliberate to figure out what's going to make most sense for the city and when, anything that I can do to assist your staff knows how to reach me. Feel free to give me a call anytime with any question that you've got. I look forward to the system.
Thank you.
Thank you much. And hook 'em on.
Sorry. I liked you till you said that.
Shannon, did you need anything from us on this before we move on? All right, on to consideration action on ordinance regarding the 2024-2025 annual service plan update for the service and assessment plan for the Wind Ridge South Public Improvement District.
So Mayor and Council, this item and the next two address the annual SAP update, service plan update for the city's PIDs. So it's Wind Ridge South, Jackson Ridge, and Keeneland. Each has its own ordinance. Abdi is here from Municap to give you an overview of each. And I think after each one, we can address the ordinance, ask you to approve that ordinance, and then move on to the next one, and then move on to the third. So I'll turn it over to Abdi.
Mayor and Council, at BSC with MediaCap, your FIT administrator. It's that time of the year. As we've done over the past several years, we have actually come back to you for what's required by the PID Act. We the PID Act, Chapter 376, local government requires the service and assessment plans that were adapted for each PID to be reviewed and updated each year. Part of that update is to make sure that the, council is, appraised about the progress of the project. And also to make sure that, the assessments are applied in the manner that were originally contemplated. And also adapt a budget for the district, so the assessments that need to be collected from each property owner each year are collected consistent with the approved methodology. So along that, we have the 3 PIDs that are currently active. We've prepared the annual updates for those 3 PIDs, and we've kind of turned them over to you all. I'll quickly go through some of the substantive components of those, those reports. Have the clicker? Yeah, right. So the first one, and again, these items that you see here are parts of the service and assessment plan that are, typically updated each year. The PID, the project budget, the budget that, for the amounts that we need to collect for that particular year. Changes to the assessment methodology, if any, which typically does not occur, but every now and then it does. Updates to the parcel status, subdivisions and consolidations, prepayments, and then ultimately the action item that is needed, to kind of ratify these. On all 3 projects that you will notice, the PID projects are pretty much done, so there are no changes to the construction budget. Everything is completed. So the updates that we have presented before you are primarily about the annual budget for the district and changes to the parcel status. So in Wind Ridge, as you can see, the amount that we need to collect this year is pretty much identical to the amount that we needed that last year. We were still fortunate enough to have some reserve fund investment income. So we were able to give another $10,000 credit to the property owners this year because interest rates are still high enough for us to generate enough investment income. And with that, we were able to maintain a consistent assessment level. So owners will pay the exact same amount that they paid last year. So which is usually a good thing to try to create some sort of stability in the amount that they pay. There are no changes to the assessment methodology. Property owners continue to pay the assessment in the exact same way as they have been over the previous years. There have been no changes in the parcels either. All the entire subdivision, Wind Ridge South, has been subdivided. The homes are built, so there are no changes to the parcel status. There was one property owner that chose to pay the PID assessment a few years back, but that's the only one. We haven't had any additional property owners paying their assessment in full. So that action item that we are requesting council to approve will basically allow us, once the ordinance is adopted, we'll be able to provide the assessment amounts to be collected from each parcel to the county, so they can put them in the tax bill and collected with the assessments for the year. That's what we have on Wind Ridge. It is fairly standard and forward. You have a chance to look at some of the numbers and their background information. If you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer. Recommend approval of the ordinance that we managed.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 856-24, accepting and approving an update of the annual service and assessment plan, updated assessment rule for the city of Aubrey, Lynn Ridge South Public Improvement District.
Second.
Motion by Aaron, second by everyone else. Go with,
You win this time.
all in favor? Passes 4-0.
So I get the next time.
Item 3, consideration and action on ordinance regarding the 2024-2025 annual service plan, the service and assessment plan for the Jackson Ridge Public Improvement District.
And again, the exact same scenario, get active parcels to update the service and assessment plan, so these will be the updates for the Jackson Ridge Public Improvement District. Now, this one has a few changes that have occurred during the year we the refunding bonds. So this will be the first year where we're going to basically translate that, the outcome of the refunding bond, out to the property owner. So you will notice there are some changes that we've reflected in the report. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the PID component, the public improvements are all constructed, so there are no changes to the budget for any of the 4 subdivisions or areas within the district. First change that you will notice is that because of the refunding, the debt service requirement on the bonds has gone down, significantly. So last year, we needed to collect about $845,000 from the property owners with that amount. With the amount that we need to collect this year is about $610,000. So as you can see, there has been some significant, savings from the refunding. And I think credit goes to council, staff, and consultant, professional, nice advisor, bond council, everybody worked really tirelessly to make that happen. And now the property owners are basically reaping the fruits of that effort. So we really appreciate that. And that is all shown in the amount that's going to the property owners. As you will see, each property owner will see at least a $500 reduction in their annual payment this year and going forward. So the refunding has been truly significant and positively impacted to the property owner. So one of the changes that we incorporate into the service and assessment plan is basically moralizing that saving into the actual payment that property owner would have to make going forward. That saving again is across the board. For major improvement area, what we needed about $298,000 last year. That amount now is about $153,000. Again, that's a direct impact of the refunding. So property owners in that area, we paid, like, for example, 60-foot property was paying about $990 last year. That's gone down to about $749 this year. In phase 2, again, last year we needed to collect about $937,000 to pay debt service and district administration expenses. That amount now is about $665,000. So consistent with as it was in phase 1. We were able to generate again about $500 in average savings to the property owner. So this is again the impact of the outcome of the refunding process. Phase 3A and 3B did not have any refunding because those bonds were fairly recent, so they won't be up for refunding for another 4 or so years. So the debt service is pretty much consistent. As you can see, the budget, again, we were able to reduce the budget in phase 3A because we were able to generate more investment income this year than last year. As you can see, we were able to generate about $4,000 last year. This year, because interest rates are still on the high side, we were able to generate another $13,000 or so. That allowed us to reduce the PID assessment burden on the property owners. Again, anything that we can do to try to save funds for property owners, though, that's what we do. So the budget is about $14,000 less this year because of that. So on average, again, because of the number of units that are in the district, I think property owners will notice about $60 to $70 reduction in their PID assessment for that particular area. And now, as we mentioned before, these investment incomes are not always guaranteed in the sense that next year, if interest rates change, the savings may not be there, particularly for that investment income. So the budget may shift backwards to that $270 or so. I just wanted to kind of point that out. Okay, so phase 3B again, last year our budget was $586,000. This year we need to collect about $577,000. As you can see on the subtotal expenses, the expenses are pretty much the same, still $596,000. But because we were able to again to generate another $10,000, about $9,000 in a reserve fund investment income, we're able to reduce the assessment burden on the property owner, so they get a little bit of savings as well. So on average, a 60-foot property owner in phase 3B will see about $40 reduction because of that investment income that we're able to generate. Methodology wise, the assessment itself, we did not have any changes to the methodology, but because of the refundings, the debt service requirement on the PID bonds has gone down significantly. So that has resulted in savings, the requirement to generate TERS increments have gone down from 45.2% down to 38.75%. A proportional reduction in debt service would have caused the TERS contribution to go down to 32.29%. But I believe staff recommended the council approve splitting that saving between the property owners and the city. So the new contribution level from the TERS will be 38.75%, which would be 32.29%, which is the calculated proportional reduction, plus half of the 12.9% savings that came from the refunding. So the new contribution level for the TERS will be 38.75%. So one of the things that need to be considered is what to do with that 6.45% additional saving that is going to the city. Right now, there are two options for that. One option will be to earmark that to a specific TERS project within the TERS. So that 6.45% saving can go into specific TERS. Another, and the most common approach would be to just basically officially reduce the TERS contribution from 45.2% to 38.75%. That way, the 6.45% will flow into the general fund, and then the city will be able to apply to any other kind of project or any other use. So we will need to come back to you all with an amended TERS project and finance plan. So if possible, it'd be great to have a kind of a direction on which way we're gonna have to adapt it. Are we going to identify a specific project within the TERS and earmark that 6.45% saving, or as is the case for many cities, should we officially reduce the participation level from 45.2% down to 38.75%? So the fund will be basically retained in the general fund, and the city will be able to direct and redirect as needed. That will be something that would be helpful to get direction from council. And based on that, we'll be preparing and updating the TERS project and finance plan. And we'll come back and basically make sure that the participation level is officially adjusted to the 38.75%.
I think I lean more towards the general fund idea, because I think it gives us more flexibility in the years to come.
And that's the most common use. Actually, most of these stuff we've worked with actually have done that. They just reduce the participation level and then let the excess flow into the general fund. So the city can basically plug it wherever it's needed.
Going back to the numbers, how much overall in the administrative expenses across all of these? So it looks like it's 30 to 40,000 per phase. So like this is 46,000. I think another one was like 31.
Right, so the administrative expenses are reflective of the stage of development. So in stages where the homes are still being sold, homes are still being built, the administrative activities is basically on the high end, because we have a lot of interactions with property owners, realtors, title companies and all these. So the administration budget tends to be on the high side. For the phases that are fairly developed, as you can see, the budget is on the low side, but $30,000, for example, in phase 3. If you go back to phase 2, that's about 37,000, and that is for the district administrator, city. One of the things we also want to do, and this is something that we've tried in other cities. One thing we'd like to introduce, again, working with staff, is to try to start a formal audit process for the PID. So the PID, kind of the ins and outs of the PID can formally be audited, and then an audit report can be generated. So we've kind of put some contingency in there just in case that's something that staff and ultimately council would want to lean into. So that budget is reflective of what we believe is a more stable administrative budget, going forward.
So if we choose not to do that, then we won't spend those funds, or this is going to be automated, and then if we choose not to do it, it just goes towards.
So essentially what would happen is, if we don't have to do that one, so that $4,000 is not going to be used for audit, then that budget next year will be close to about $30,000. From 37, it'll be about 33 or 34. Like I said, that 33,000, 34,000 has the district administrator, the trustee, the dissemination agent for the bond reporting, the tax assessor collector, and then the city as well for some miscellaneous expenses. So it'll stabilize at about $32,000. So this one is like, as you can see, went up from 33 to 37 because we added a little bit of contingency just in case that's the audit, which is proving to be very, which is received very well in cities that have actually adapted that budget process, because it just, makes everything transparent. People are able to rely on everything that's coming out. So that was why we added a little bit of contingency on top of the budget side.
Okay, thank you.
So, I think, they have to give us any formal kind of position on how we need to go about, adapting the saving, whether we're gonna take it as a formal reduction or earmarking for a new project.
We need some direction because you're gonna have to come back with the project finance plan amendment. So yes, just give some direction. That way you'll know how to prepare that.
So if that is the consensus, we will come back to you all with an amended project and finance plan that would basically reduce the participation level officially from 45 down to 38. That way the city will be able to redirect the funds as needed, because they will just hit, the saving will just hit the general fund. Other than that, there have been some, partial subdivisions in the last subdivision, which is section 3B. Other than that, we don't have anything else. There were two prepayments from the last time we kind of came from before you. There was one partial prepayment in phase 1. And one prepayment that's actually split between 2 to 3, and then phase 2 parcels. Other than that, property owners continue to pay their assessment on an annual basis. And hopefully you'll have a chance to look at these numbers and digest them. We recommend approval of the ordinance, so we can communicate the information out to the tax assessor collector, and then those amounts will be included in the tax bill.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance 857-24 Jackson Ridge SAP update.
Motion by Randy, second by Chuck, all in favor? All again? Passes 3-1. Item 4, consideration action on ordinance regarding the 2024-2025 annual service plan update to the service and assessment plan for the Aubrey Public Improvement District number 1.
So this will be the first annual update for this particular district. Bonds were issued last year, did have one cycle of collection, but this would be the first annual update for this particular bid. Again, the exact same items are being updated in the service and assessment plan update that we submitted for you. The old construction has been completed on the public infrastructure, so the budget has all been spent, and there's no change on the project budget, particularly on the infrastructure budget. Last year, we needed to collect about 1,172,287 to pay debt service on the bonds that were issued last fall. This year, we need to collect about 1,146,000. Again, we were able to generate about $10,000 investment income, so we're able to pass that on to the property owners. As you can see, we have very minimal TERS credit on this particular deal. This particular deal requires a 38% participation, but because there are no homes that were built and that paid taxes last year, we didn't have any significant TERS credit. We expect that to change, gradually as more homes are built, so that number will go up. And you will also notice that the amount that probably, the per lot assessment amount this year is on the high end because it does not have any TERS participation. But currently, the lots are primarily owned by the building developer, so they'll be responsible for paying this. Once homeowners start moving in and the homes are built, they will be able to generate TERS increments, which will start reducing this amount to the desired assessment level that was adopted by council at the beginning. There are no changes to the assessment methodology. The final plat has been recorded, individual parcels have been recognized. This particular bid. There have been no prepayments, so. Again, this is very mellow, very straightforward, like the other ones, because it's still, and their homes are still under construction. Hopefully you had a chance to look at this one as well. We recommend approval of the ordinance adapting the annual service plan update. Once that is adapted, we will work to make sure that the amounts are communicated to the tax assessor collector, so they'll be included in the tax bill.
We know how many homes we expect to be built in the next year in Keeneland? Does anyone have an idea?
If memory serves, they have about 272 units, and their absorption was about 3 years. So they were looking at about 90 plus on a yearly basis. I think they had a 3-year absorption. You know, if you slow it down to 4-year, that will be a little under that, maybe about 50, 60, but that, I think 90, about 90 is what they projected.
I was just looking at the administrative fee, it's like 70 something thousand. So if there's not that many homes there, that just seems pretty high. I was just wondering why that would be.
So again, remember, in the other district, particularly in Jackson Bridge, the administrative function is spread across different phases. You have about 4 phases.
Okay.
The tasks are pretty much identical, and this one being a brand new district, and again, I think there's some synergy and interaction with them much, so that we expect there's going to be a lot of back and forth, particularly with property owners, particularly initially as they buy in. But once the district stabilizes, the homes are built, we expect that to be basically comparable across the different phases.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 858-24, accepting and approving an update of the annual service and assessment plan and an updated assessment roll for the City of Aubrey Public Improvement District Number 1, Keeneland.
Second.
Motion by Aaron, second by Jeff, all in favor? Passes 4-0.
Bill.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you. Item 5, receive a presentation, consider an act on an initial plan of finance to fund projected cost of FY 2024-2025 utility capital improvement projects and direct staff to finalize cost and timing after August 1st, 2024 bid open.
So this item and the one following is the resolution. Jim is here to do a presentation, similar to what we had heard in the workshop, but updated for the current costs. So I'll turn it over to Jim, and when he's done, item 6 will be the resolution.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, my name is Jim Sabonis. I'm Managing Director of Hilltop Securities, and I'm the financial advisor to the city, along with a group of team members that assist the city. This plan is something that we've been working on for over a year. Intense study on cost, growth, and how a project can move forward. And as I've indicated previously, we've had a workshop and a council meeting discussing it. I commend your your staff. They really have their arms around this more than any community I've worked with right now. And we're doing a lot of projects like this. Is tremendous growth that's happening, not just here, but throughout Texas. And the model that they've actually used to understand costs is one we kind of duplicated in other places. But let me start by saying that in general, the assumptions and the projections are very similar to what we've used previously and most recently at the Saturday workshop that I attended, but the cost numbers have changed. So in this scenario, we're looking at funding project funds of $70.2 million, of which $2 million will be allocated, funded by cash on hand. $11.9 million is a percentage allocation of cost and predetermined projects. It's changed. That dollar amount's gone up because the cost of those specific projects has gone up. And then another $56 million of projects that we go forward with. We'll be issuing about $57.3 million of bonds. We'll be amortizing it over 25 years, and our current interest rate assumption is 4.356%. It's actually 25 basis points buffered, though in general, we believe that there's a positive downward trajectory indicated by the Fed Reserve over the last meeting, though trying to be conservative in every number we give. Now, this program would actually have a total principal interest cost of $97 million, an annual average cost of about $3.8 million. The important number is that when we grow to full amortization, there'll be $5 million of principal interest that we take place. But how do we get there from where we are right now? First thing I want to say is we looked at your existing system and this is a really unique thing. And I, again, have to talk about your management of the city and your staff implementation. You know, the last few years, this city's run very efficiently. If you look at our current budget, we generate about $1 million of cash flow available for debt service. In our debt service, as you can see, it's about 715,000. It's kind of exactly like textbook how you want a city to be, like about 1.3, 1.4 times coverage of growing city. So you can absorb variations of weather. And then have some cash to fund cash you go projects, fund some capital. So our expectation is that the same logic from an operating perspective would be put in place. Currently, you have 1,581 customers. So we look at the cash flow per customer, $640. That makes sense. So what we're saying is we would kind of think of our rate structure. There will be some efficiencies and as you get larger, but there'll be some cost escalation. But we're trying to think that we should have about operate as efficiently in the future as we do right now, generate $640 per customer. So this is the stunning. Why do you have to build massive utilities? It's because of the growth that's going to place. If you look at the next 25 years, there's going to be cumulative growth on known projects that are in place over 13,500. And most of those are very a little bit later in the cycle, but still you get some tremendous growth. And you just asked a question about how many homes we expected permanent. Citywide, we expect 589 the upcoming year. And then it's pretty level. There's actually some fall off, some of our developments mature. Then some large ones will be expected to come forward. So what we've got is that we said 640, but we want to be a little bit more conservative. And if you can see what I did here was we tested this and at 640, we generated a lot of money. And actually, you're going to see where we're going to try to come out at the end where. So we actually said that our cash flow per customer would decrease 5% per year. Just as kind of a test, and it goes down significantly from $640 per customer to just $178 at the end of that period. And then, and that actually shows the cash flow. So we actually go from, actually our cash flow for the new customer declines because at the end, our actual discount that we apply to cash flow is greater than the new customers we had. But you can see the new customers we add about $2.4 million. So we have about $1.1 million of profitability right now. Get $2.4 million of additional profitability if we get built out. That's $3.5 million. I don't even need a computer where my house help. I can get that for you guys. But 3.5 does pay for 5 million. And this shows the importance of a balance between ongoing user fees for utilities and impact fees. So the next page is our impact fee projection. And these are the negotiated impact fees with existing development agreements. And your staff has done an impeccable job trying to look at those developments on a development by development basis on when they're going to grow and how the impact fees and the development fees tied to them. And over time generate about 158 million. Now, and this is important for the citizens that live here. The impact fees are really important for citizens because when someone comes here, goals that they don't increase the burden that existing customers have. Very early in my career, one of the first meetings I went to 30 plus years ago, I stood up before our council and we were doing a cost analysis and they asked, well, should we increase fees? Should we levy taxes or should we have impact fees? My mentor, who's retired now, tapped me on the shoulder, he answered, we don't live here, we don't, we're not appointed or elected. The point is to find a fair way. And what I think is trying to take place here is fair way where your existing revenues, customers pay for their usage, but new customers pay for their cost of capital. So it all comes together in a detailed spreadsheet. And I know this is detailed, but we've been through it enough times. that I just want to go through one more time. On the second column from the left is our existing debt service. The new third column is our proposed debt service on our new issue. Come up with our total debt service that we would have outstanding. As you can see, we try to feather it up, just increase it over time, or to kind of match like our growth. So we can kind of match growth and cash flow till we get to $5 million in average, and then we level out to $5 million. Now, we have our utility fund cash flow, in the group, the box that has the 3 rows, columns in the middle. And you can see we maintain our existing, we add our projected new profitability or cash flow available for debt service. We end up kind of leveling out around, a little over 3.5 million. And obviously it's not gonna pay for the debt service. But now we add in our impact fees, and you can see that with our impact fees, and by accumulating impact fees and adjusting how we work with the impact fees, we are able to pay for those debt service. Now, you look at the third column from the right, that would actually just be the total debt service covered by your projected operating plan. As you can see, we don't pay for it. Again, that's why we have impact fees. And then, as you look at the impact fees on the second column from the right, even early on, we're stressed a little bit. But the plan is, and we talked to Mike and Land, the policy been put in place, that impact fees will be collected. And they'll be held, they won't be used for any other purpose but to offset debt service with your current rates. And so you can see we have accumulating balance, and there's a couple years that were negative, even in the annual profitability of the system and impact fee generation. But our accumulated balance is available for us to make our debt service payment. And so the plan would be to, again, put in very strict policy procedures to control that, use it to pay this debt service. And then over time, you can see there's a significant additional impact fees, but the reality is there will be other improvements that are being needed in the system. We've talked about this, but we're thinking a few years out, there's already going to start to be some improvements that we plan. And the same concept would apply. Those impact fees and potential user fees will be available for us. So in summary, I mean, this is a lot of work in the financial plan, and I believe we've gone through it, and I hope if you have any questions, we go through it, because it is a very, very good plan. Tonight, we have the notice of intent. On the next item, if that's approved, it'll be published in the paper, and what our goal would be actually to price the certificates prior to your fiscal year end on your September 26th meeting. And we'll close that and have those funds available for October 9th. Now, in the time of that, this whole process come together to try and match up with what some of your bids that you're taking place. So you'll have the funds when you do your bids, and they'll take place. So summary, this time frame, standard certificate of obligation time frame. We've talked about it for a long time, but we delayed moving forward till we match up exactly with the bid process that's taking place with the utilities and some of their major programs. And then we go forward. So also give you a feel like on the investment, on Monday, it's been a busy week. Probably saw me yawning here. I've been more miles in my car this week than I have either calling elections or selling bonds. As we get, everyone calls elections, getting in that time that we have. But on Monday, we actually invested on a fixed investment program, a $90 million utility fund for a very similar type of project for a similar city. To give you a feel, in your money market funds right now, we put money in cash and invest it. They should be earning about 5.3 to 5.4, depending exactly what their portfolio allocation is. Those are the state approved that cities can invest in daily liquidity. On our $90 million program was interesting. It actually had an 18-month draw schedule, and it actually got a fixed rate of 4.75%, slightly less than what you could get daily, because they do expect rates are going down, and we lock those rates in. The point I mentioned that is that we'll work with Mike and Charles to make sure that your funds are being invested. And our expectation right now is that when we drop the funds into an investment account, we'll earn at least what our interest costs are for the period of time, so there wouldn't be any lost negative arbitrage in that time frame. There's some people talk about a drawdown loan, and we discussed where to take, state of Texas. Be able to enter a contract, we have to show that we have cash or we're in the process of issuing bonds. We'll issue those bonds, and then there will not be any wastefulness, because we'll be able to invest it at our bond yield. So in summary, we've seen this before, only minor changes, as costs continually escalate, but the variances in the cost escalation have a minor impact, but don't impact the overall strategy. That concludes my formal comments. Is there any questions, provide any additional information?
Just to confirm, and I think this is more with staff, we would not have any price increases for our citizens, correct? This is based off of their current rates.
There's no action on number 5, right? And so item 6, consideration action on a resolution authorizing the publication of notice of intent to issue certificates of obligation. Series 2024 for the purchase and installation of water and sewer system upgrades and construction of wastewater treatment plant.
I'll motion to approve resolution 975-24. Authorizing publication of notice of intention to issue certificates of obligation, approving the preparation of a preliminary official statement and a notice of sale, and providing for the effective date thereof.
Also, yeah.
Motion by Aaron, second by Chuck, all in favor? That's 4-0.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We look forward with your staff. See you in September with a successful.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Item 7, consideration action on a final plat for Aubrey Heights containing 142 residential lots, 7 open space lots, and 39.51 acres of land out of the J. Fisher survey, abstract number 432.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is Helen Eve Beadle, your city planner for these planning and development items this
Mayor
evening.
and council, Helen Eve Beadle is our planner and she is on virtual tonight. Helen Eve, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I was speaking. Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me now? Are you able to hear me now?
Ellen, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
We're not able to hear you, Helen Eve.
Can't say her either.
Hello. Okay, thank you. My speakers are on and they're green, so I don't understand. I apologize. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me now? Thumbs up. Thank you. All right, so thank you, Mayor and City Council. As Leanne mentioned, I am your city planner for these planning and development items this evening. Are you able to see the first slide with the final plat location for Aubrey Heights?
Yes.
All right, so this is a final plat for Aubrey Heights. Next slide, please. The slide in front of you is an exhibit of the final plat. North is pointed to the left. So you have Blackjack on the north side, and the south side is FM 423 and Sherman Drive. So just to go through this quickly on the history, the property was zoned and preliminary platted, and the final plat is consistent with the preliminary plat. We do have a few conditions. There were more when this item went to the Planning and Zoning Commission. May I have the next slide, please? And the applicant's engineers have been working really hard with staff planning as well as the city engineer to resolve some of the items. However, we have 2 slides that identify the conditions for the property for the final plat to be approved. And next slide, please. And in summary, the conditions relate to the city engineer approving the civil plans for construction. There are some minor edits to the final plat. I understand we received a revised final plat today. We have time to go through that final plat. The conditions listed do identify that final approval by the city engineer and the city planner are required for the final plat, for civil plans, and landscape and screening plans. And I can make myself available if you have any questions, and I believe the applicants are there this evening. You have the opportunity this evening to approve the final plat, approve the plat with conditions, or deny the final plat.
Helen, can we confirm that the conditions are 1 through 4?
It should be updated.
It seemed like there was a couple.
Had to put you on
The report.
mute. What is the question? What is the question, Leanne?
I want to confirm what the conditions are. Are they 1 through 4? Are they also the 1 through 3 under civil and the 1 through 2 under landscape?
They're all, those 2 slides, 1 through 4 for the final plat. They're all related to the final plat, 1 through 3 for the civil plans, and 1 and 2 for the landscape and screening.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
So it would be all of them, council.
I'll make a motion to approve the final plat for Aubrey Heights containing 142 residential lots and 7 open space lots and 39.51 acres of land at the J. Fisher Survey Abstract 432, subject to the 9 conditions outlined in the application.
We need to add one more thing to that. There's a rough proportionality agreement, so we need to authorize the city manager to execute that document.
And authorizing the city manager to execute
The rough proportionality agreement.
the proportionality agreement.
I'll second.
Second by Aaron, second by Randy, all in favor? All against? Passes 3-1. Eight, consider an act on ordinance annexing the hereinafter described territory known as the portion of FM 1385, beginning at the city limits just south of the intersection of FM 1385 and Wind Ridge Boulevard, continuing north to the intersection of FM 1385 and FM 428.
And that's Helen Eve again.
All right, thank you. So this next item, may I have the slide for 1385 annexation?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. As the mayor described, this is the annexation for the portion of 1385 from FM 428 to Spring Hill, I believe. And the hearings for the required local government code process for annexation occurred in June. So this evening, the final portion for the task is to adopt the ordinance. Staff recommends approval of the ordinance as amended, as presented.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance annexing the hereinafter described territory known as the portion of FM 428, beginning at the intersection of FM 1385 and FM 428, continuing west to the intersection of FM 428 and FM 2931, and to include any additional adjacent right of way, extending the boundary limits of the city so as to include the described property.
Second. Motion by Randy, second by Jeff, all in favor? Passes 4-0. Item 9, consider an act on an ordinance annexing the hereinafter described territory known as the portion of FM 428, beginning at the intersection of FM 1385 and FM 428, continuing west to the intersection of FM 428 and FM 2931.
That's the one. That's the one we just did.
Yes, this is.
Yeah, that's got the wrong person. I just read that, yep. Over it.
Did you?
Let me backtrack and do number 8. Yep.
Number 9.
I did not, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. They both had the same starts. I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance annexing the hereinafter described territory known as the portion of FM 1385 beginning at the city limits just south of the intersection of FM 1385 and Windbridge Boulevard, continuing north to the intersection of FM 1385 and FM 428, and to include any additional adjacent right of way, extending the boundary limits of the city so as to include the described property.
Second. All in favor? Still 4-0.
So we skipped to 10.
Yeah, back to number 9. Y'all heard me read it a second ago?
We already approved it, too, right?
Yeah, it's already approved. It's all good.
Good on that?
Oh.
Then read number 9 again, Mayor.
Well, he said number 9, we're fine, we should go with the presentation.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Helene, we are on number 9, FM 428 annexation.
All right, very good. Thank you. So this next item is similar to the previous one where you all are annexing portion of the roadway from 1385 to 428 and or to 2931. The public hearings as required have occurred in the month of June, and staff recommends approving the ordinance as presented.
That realistic. I'm making a motion to approve ordinance annexing the hereinafter described territory known as the portion of FM 428, beginning at the intersection of FM 1385 and FM 428, continuing west to the intersection of FM 428 and FM 2931, and to include any additional adjacent right of way, Denton County, Texas, extending the boundary limits of the city so as to include the described property.
Second. Motion by Randy, second by Jeff, all in favor? Still 4-0. All right, item 10, conduct a public hearing in accordance with Texas Local Government Code, section 403.063 alpha and other applicable law. To consider testimony and provide members of the public an opportunity to be heard on the proposed annexation of Denton CAD ID 52165, being approximately 159.941 acres of land, generally located south of FM 428, west of FM 1385, and east of Coffee Road. So we'll open those at 7:36.
Helene, this is number 10, point public hearing.
Okay, the public hearing for the annexation is related to the Duck Point development. And the mayor already opened the public hearing. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? We'll close the public hearing, 7:37. Item number 11, consideration and action on ordinance annexing of Denton CAD ID 52165 being approximately 159.941 acres of land generally located south of FM 428, west of FM 1385, and east of Coffee Road.
This next item is the Duck Point annexation ordinance. You just had the public hearing in the previous agenda item, and staff is recommending approval of the ordinance as presented.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance annexing of Denton CAD ID 52165 being approximately 159.941 acres of land generally located south of FM 428, west of FM 1385, and east of Coffee Road.
Second. Motion by Randy, second by Jeff, all in favor? That's 4-0. Item 12, conduct a public hearing, consider an act on an ordinance changing the zoning from unzoned land previously located in the city of Aubrey ETJ to planned development district. Open the public hearing at 7:38.
Mayor and council, the Duck Point PD zoning item is a follow-up from the development agreement that you all approved back in May. The concept plan PD regulations that were approved in that development agreement are mirrored in the PD zoning application. And the property was just annexed in the previous agenda item. This PD contains a number of lots, 440, parkland open space, has masonry standards, screening requirements, subdivision standards, and entry road requirements that are all outlined in the PD document. The first exhibit is the concept plan. It identifies the lots and orientation, the city park location, and access to the property. The next slide identifies the lot standards that were previously approved in the development agreement, as well as a blow-up concept of the amenity center area and city park. The next item is identifying the open space for the development. And the next slide identifies the masonry screening along the north and west of the property and the decorative metal fencing adjacent to open space areas. The final exhibit is the access to get to the property from 1385. The notifications were processed as required by state law and your zoning ordinance. We have not received any letters in opposition or in favor to the item. The PD ordinance is recommended for approval as presented, and the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved the PD zoning for your approval at their July meeting. The council has the ability to approve the PD ordinance this evening, approve it with conditions, or deny the PD ordinance. I'm available if you have any questions, and I believe the applicants are in the audience.
Any questions? I'll close the public hearing at 7:41.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance changing zoning from unzoned land previously located in the city of Aubrey ETJ to planned development district with the base zoning district SF 75 single family residential on approximately 159.941 acres of land located in the Frederick Pollard survey, abstract 955 located west of FM 1385 and south of FM 428, DCAT parcel ID 52165.
Second.
Motion by Aaron, second by Jeff, all in favor? Passes 4-0. Item 13, conduct a public hearing in accordance with Texas Local Government Code, section 43.063 alpha and other applicable law to consider testimony and provide members of the public an opportunity to be heard on the proposed annexation of a portion of Denton CAD ID 986865, being an approximately 1.33 acre tract of land situated in the F.H. Pollard Survey, abstract number 995, generally located west of FM 1385, south of FM 428, and east of Coffee Road. Open the public hearing at 7:42.
Mayor and council, this next item is a public hearing for the annexation. Your agenda packet identifies the property, and the slide actually illustrates the location of the property with its relationship to the Duck Point development. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Also end the public hearing at 7:42. Item 14, consideration and action on ordinance annexing a portion of Denton CAD ID 986865. Being an approximate 1.33 acre tract of land situated in the F.H. Pollard Survey, abstract number 995, generally located west of FM 1385, south of FM 428, and east of Coffee Road.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance annexing a portion of Denton CAD ID 986865, being approximately 1.33 acre tract of land located west of FM 1385, south of FM 428, and east of Coffee Road, and the associated right-of-way, adopting a municipal services agreement and providing an effective date.
I'll second.
Motion by Aaron, second by Randy, all in favor? Passes 4-0. Item 15, consideration and action on a resolution granting a petition requesting annexation into the ETJ and corporate limits of the city of Aubrey by Jen Holdco 24 LLC. Owners of approximately 47.3 acres of land located at 4721 and 4799 FM 2931.
Mayor, this next item is for what we used to call the Lloyd property. City Council approved a development agreement earlier this year. And the next step is annexation and then zoning for the property. This is the first step in setting the public hearing for annexation, and approval of the resolution is recommended as presented.
Mayor, I move to approve a resolution granting a petition requesting annexation into the extraterritorial jurisdiction and corporate limits of the city of Aubrey by Jen Holdco 24 LLC, owners of approximately 47.3 acres located at 4721 and 4799 FM 2931 out of J Bridges Survey, abstract number 36, Denton County, Texas. Setting a public hearing for the annexation, authorizing staff to negotiate and enter into a written services agreement with the owner.
I'll second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Randy, all in favor?
Do we need to have the public hearing date?
Yes, ma'am, we missed that. We need to set the public hearing date for August 22nd at 6 p.m. at City Hall.
What, when?
August 22nd at 6 p.m. at City Hall.
22nd. 6. And setting the public hearing for August 22nd at 6.
Second that.
Second, yes.
All right, all in favor? Passes 4-0. Item 16, consideration and action on a resolution setting dates, times, and places for public hearings on the proposed annexation of property identified as being the portion of FM 2931, beginning at the intersection of FM 2931 and Frontier Parkway, continuing north to the intersection of FM 2931 and Spring Hill Road.
Mayor and council, the resolution for annexation of FM 2931 is illustrated in the aerial exhibit, identifying the location from Frontier Parkway to Spring Hill Road. This is a resolution for the annexation and setting the public hearings. Staff recommends approval of the resolution as presented.
Which dates do we want for the public hearings?
August 22nd and August 28th, 6 p.m. City Hall.
I'll make a motion approving a resolution setting dates, times and place for public hearing and proposed annexation of property identified as being the portion of FM 2931, beginning at the intersection of FM 2931 and Frontier, continuing north to the intersection of FM 2931 and Spring Hill Road, and any additional adjacent right of way, with those public hearings on August 22nd at 6 p.m. and August 28th at 6 p.m.
Second.
Motion by Aaron, second by Jeff, all in favor?
I'm sorry, I need to also authorize and direct the city secretary to publish and mail such public hearings and authorize and direct city staff to prepare a service plan for said property.
Amended second.
All in favor? Passes 4-0. Item 17, consideration and action on ordinance amending the fiscal year 2024 budget.
This, Mayor and Council, this ordinance amends the current year fiscal budget, 2024 budget, to include the key items that we approved at the last workshop. To refresh everyone's memory, there was a barricade trailer, a chipper, a roller, a mower trailer, as well as 2 side-by-sides for the fire department and a generator for the communication center at the community center. The total of these amendments is $683,000. Staff recommends approval of the ordinance adopting this budget.
Mayor, I move that we approve the ordinance amending the fiscal year 2024 budget.
I'll second.
Motion by Jeff, second by Randy. All in favor?
I actually had a question, I'm sorry, before we get to that, I'm so sorry.
That's all right. It's all good.
What was the 200,000 for the council chamber? That's additional, I don't remember seeing that when we had the discussions about the other items.
So what we had talked about was an upgrade to the AV systems and some construction overruns, some change orders that we got to deal with.
Thank you, I'm sorry about that.
No. It's all here for you.
I think we did that at a regular meeting where we told you about it. I don't think we discussed that in the workshop where you approved all of the other items. That was something we did later.
Thank you.
It's all good. I stand by my motion. Instead of reading all that stuff again.
Motion by Jeff, second by Randy, all in favor? Passes 4-0. Discussion regarding the draft fiscal year 2024-2025 budget.
So this is a discussion item Q&A. If there's any questions before we go to our next budget workshop. The budget numbers I provided there are the last ones we had looked at. That's where the budget is sitting right now. So a surplus in the general fund of about 400,000 and a surplus in the enterprise fund of about $1.3 million. We have received our certified totals for our property tax values. That did not give us any surprises, so the estimates you've seen are very close to what we expect them to be now. We're still working on that with the assessor's office, but we hope to have some updates on the tax rate options that are developed by the TNT process, Truth in Taxation process. But again, we have estimates that we don't expect that we'll have any issues with our tax rate. So if there's any questions or comments, you want us to look at anything, we do have some updates. We'll provide those updates. So we don't have any downside updates, but we potentially have some upside that we talked about next week.
How are we on the fleet replacement plan? Everything approved, like moving as we expected from last year?
I'm going to say yes from a financial standpoint. I don't know if the timing of the vehicles are what they're looking for, but they've been able to manage it. So I think financially it's very good time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Council members, this item was requested by the mayor that we send out the entire budget, all of the funds, not just the general fund, because that's what you had seen in the workshops. So that's what Mike sent you a couple of weeks ago, was the entire budget. So this item was meant tonight. If you have any questions, we do have some updates for you that we'll discuss in executive session that will affect the budget moving forward in a positive manner. So if you have any other questions, we can answer those as well.
I love positive.
I don't know. I think the chiefs are over there making their list of if there's a positive. What else do we need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we already know whose requests are. Whose request we're gonna what?
Item 20, receive a report and take action on awarding a bid to Pace Construction LLC for Main Street Beautification Project. F2024-957, Phase 1, in an amount not to exceed $573,000. And authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary contract documents.
We saved the best for last. This is the Main Street Beautification Project Phase 1. We advertised it in the paper on June 21st and June 28th. And it was also available at Civcast for contractors to download. The project consists of parking, sidewalks, landscaping, irrigation, and electrical improvements on Mulberry, Plum, and Main, between Plum and Mulberry. On July 15th, 2 bids were received, but only one of the bids was considered responsive. There was some special requirements that they had to already be pre-approved with TxDOT, and only one of them was. So Apple was the one that was non-responsive, and then the one that we documented as responsive was Pace Construction, LLC. And you can see the bids there. Apple was 546. Pace Construction come in at 573,000. So we did complete the reference process and did not receive any negative comments for Pace. We did receive a recommendation letter from our engineer to accept the bid. We did today, just in time, receive a TxDOT memo of concurrence to award the bid to Pace, giving us permission or authorization to move forward with procurement and construction. So staff recommends awarding the bid to Pace Construction.
Very cool. I'll make a motion to award a bid to Pace Construction LLC for Main Street Beautification Project F2024957 Phase 1 in an amount not to exceed $573,000 and authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary contract documents.
Second.
By Aaron, second by Jeff, all in favor? Passes 4-0. I think that took 4 years to get from the receiving the grant to accepting the bid.
Yeah.
You're excited.
And it came in under projected.
Yes.
Another positive thing.
It's complicated because we have the Peanut Festival coming, we have Christmas, and it's about a 90-day project, so. We will try to see if we can do something between Peanut Festival and Christmas, but it could very well be after Christmas. We'll just have to kind of coordinate those logistics and see what we can do.
All right, department updates.
Mayor and council, I'm disappointed to tell you that we've had a setback in the council chamber. They delivered the dais and it was, the upper portion was designed for 9 seats instead of 7, which we requested 7. And it just wouldn't work out. And I think they hoped that we would just accept it since it was here, but we did not. And they have eaten the remake of the dais. I was notified today. It's scheduled to be delivered on 8/19. They'll need about 2 weeks to complete the AV, so we think we'll be ready to go 9/1. Everything else is done. We believe next week they'll have all their final inspections and we'll actually accept the building. We believe the business fair in the community center portion will be able to go off as scheduled. And then we'll have a couple of meetings before the first council meeting to work out any AV bugs that we might have, but the Swaggart installation is complete, all the electrical is complete, the signs are going. It really looks nice, I'm very excited. On the 5th, the gallery chairs will arrive. So we'll be pretty set to go as soon as they lay it. Apologize for the mistake, but they're in Minnesota, so I couldn't control it. That wouldn't let me go up there once a week to check on them. It's gonna be nice and we're gonna get there, promise.
Thanks for working on that so hard, chief. I appreciate it.
So Mayor and Council, two things I wanted to cover with you on the chamber and the community center. We would like to have a dedication at some point, and with your direction, I would like to include the chamber in that and have a ribbon cutting. We are a member of the chamber and we are entitled to a ribbon cutting. I've already talked to the executive director about it. So we would like to have them there as well. And number two, I am prepared to start purchasing electronics. We have selected the Microsoft Surface Pro for you to use at the dais. You will have at the dais, you will have a computer screen in front of you that you will see whatever is being projected into the council chamber for the audience. So if somebody's doing a presentation, you will see that presentation, but you're not going to have the benefit of the agenda as you see it here. We would put you into the board portal on your device in front of you, and you'll be able to follow along with the meeting as you go on your device. So unless somebody has a major objection to the Microsoft Surface Pro, we've chose that on the recommendation of our IT staff because they said it will marry up with our existing system that we have, and you'll be able to access files. You will be able to see Civic Clerk as we move forward during a meeting and have all of that. So if nobody has any objections, I'm ready to make that purchase. All right, we're really excited about the chamber. If you've not been by, if you happen to be at the library, please do go by there and look. It looks really, really nice. It's come together. Chief Brooks has done a fantastic job. Riley has been exceptional, helping us pick the colors and making sure we're purchasing the right things. I think the community is going to enjoy it just as much as we do. There's plenty of room. You're not all over each other in this smaller room. And I think it's going to be a fantastic thing for you in the future. We're really excited about it. So that's my portion of the update. That's a lead in for me.
That you have available to you through, thank you, through our new agenda software. I'll send you this link if you don't already have it. I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of it. You'll see when you log in, you won't see all these, you'll only see your board, which will be the council. You'll click on the current one, and then you can see all the council items here that you've looked at tonight. If you want to follow through, let me go back to one of the regular ones here. The first one on the new business, you can open that up and you can see, I'm pointing at the screen over here like you can see it. You can see the attachments here, any speakers that you might have. And then if you scroll down, you can put notes in here for yourself. These are only visible to you guys, not to anyone else. And you can see at the very bottom of the page, you can scroll back and forth between the previous and the next item. If there's an item that you want to be sure that you remember, you can, in this top right corner, you can click the star. And then when you're on the list of the items, you'll see the star here, where we put that star. It's just kind of a bookmark for you to remember that you may have had a note or something on there. The other thing. Sorry, I should be over here doing this, but the glasses don't work. Still learning that. The other quick thing that you have is on this left side of each item, you have these 3 marks, and you can see real quick if you had any notes are in there, if there's any attachments for you to look at, and you can go straight to those from there if you wanted to. So I'll send you guys all the link to this if you don't already have it. I'll send you a little overview of what we just looked at along with some of the instructions. At some point, we'll be able to vote through here. The votes will be seen on the screen to the public. So it's got some other things we can add to it, but I want to be sure you're aware of it.
Is that the way it's gonna come to us, like prior to?
Yes.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
All I got.
Chief, you got any? Yes, updates on fire station number 2 and number 3. If you haven't been by station 2, you can very clearly see that work is now happening. They are at grade. So on the west end of the property where they brought the dirt level down, that's going to be the base level for the station. They're working on the water line relocation now, and they're full steam ahead. They're really working very hard. And in our last meeting, they were talking about kind of their heightened sense of where they're at, and they're at the entry to a neighborhood. So they're being very careful to keep the area clean, be respectful to the neighbors, and So I think they're working really hard. So the day of the meeting, we had one of those little spot 5-minute rains. And there were 4 or 5 dump trucks on the property. And so when they left, they tracked out mud. The superintendent and the company, one of the managers at the company both spotted it and had it cleaned up before we could even say anything. So I think they're doing a great job out there and it's really starting to come along. As of last week, the estimated completion date, which is rough, it's certainly a moving target at this point, was set for August 4th of 25. But they're telling us they think they're gonna bring that back quite a bit and be closer to when Station 3 completes. Fire Station 3, they're really starting to come out of the ground. We are going vertical on the west end of the apparatus bay. So if you drive by there, what you're seeing is the western bay wall that's going up pretty high in the air. And then the rooms that adjoin that wall they have the cinder block around the outside of that. The cinder block will be veneered with brick when they complete it, but you can very clearly see the apparatus bays and they're scheduled to pour the rest of the slab tomorrow. And then once that's poured, the rest of the cinder blocks will go up and they'll start steel work. The steel is on site, so there won't be any delays there. And we are tentatively planning a beam signing in September. So once you can kind of tell where you're at in the building with the steel, we'll have everybody out there. We'll give everybody paint pens and you can sign your name and write little notes on the steel that's going to be covered up. We'll have the exposed steel marked off so that no doodlings occur on those.
Doodling.
But very pleased with the work they're doing so far. To date on Fire Station 3, we've logged 22 weather days, but they didn't have any in the last month. So I think we're hitting the stretch where they're going to really get some work done for us. So really excited. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about either one of those. Thanks.
I just wanted to add on the Asland Court Street effect. We're fixing to have a street closure be for 5 days. Met with Riley and Assistant Chief Johnson, and we've come up with a communication plan. She just emailed me a brochure we're gonna give to all those Asland residents that this is how we're gonna notify you. We're gonna use the city's website. We're gonna use the city's Twitter, the Facebook page, and we will notify you prior to any road closures or concrete pours. We're gonna give them the information. This is how we're gonna do it. And then when those things come up, we will execute that plan and give them prior notice of any major impact. We only expect to have 3, which is this road closure so they can tie into the water. And then 2 early morning concrete pours, which should have minimal impact on them, but we only anticipate executing the communication plan three times, but we're prepared and we're gonna get them the information so they know beforehand something's coming.
I too regret to pass on some news, as Chief Brooks did. Our Rock Hill well is still down. We do have, our contractor has a specialty company in right now trying to do some special drilling to get whatever's lodged down in the bottom out. They've been working on it all this week. They've ran through 2 massive bits and destroyed them. So they're still trying. They tell Stephen that they'll get it out. We just don't know when. So we'll keep working on that and assessing the situation every day or 2. If we can make progress, we run a new camera down to see if we can figure out what it is. If we get to a point where, it's costing too much and we're not going to get there, then we may need to revisit, possibly drilling a new well, but they're continuing to work on it. The good side, I think I told you last month, Hill Street was repaired and back in service. It's been running good and we've been able to gain an additional 100 gallons a minute since the repairs were done. So we are in really good shape. Our consumption is up pretty high right now, but we have plenty of capacity for the consumption. I didn't have on here parks, but I want to give you a quick update on Leslie. We too are gonna have to pour concrete early. So we'll be working with Riley, to get some kind of communication out. It'll probably be 3 a.m. And it'll probably be the second week of August. But we'll get that out pretty quickly, since there is so many residents right there in their backyards where we'll be pouring. So we'll get that out.
Is that the week that Aubrey ISD starts back to school?
You said second week.
Uh-huh.
They start back on the
Yeah,
14th
I
or
think
the
it's a
12th.
ours is around the 5th or 6th or so, and I was thinking school was 14, 15.
I can tell you real quick.
Denton ISD goes back on the 7th.
I'll get back early.
Okay. The week after, okay.
First day of school is 14th.
Okay, so
So we were, another update on streets, we were gonna try to get all of the school crossings repainted before school starts, but with didn't starting early, I don't know if we'll get that done. But if not, it'll be shortly thereafter. And they're working on it here in Aubrey proper as well, for Brockett, getting those markings done.
Hello again, Mayor, Council. I'm happy to announce that the mural subcommittee we formed to select a mural has been done. They've met, they reviewed submissions. We had several submissions. They did select an artist, and it is a heritage theme mural, and our timeline is set for October for her to start painting. She'll make a final site visit on Tuesday. We'll talk about her plan for starting it and just kind of letting it unfold. It will be, I think it's going to be great. It'll also be something that the community can kind of see roll out over a few weeks. So weather permitting, she anticipates it to be done at the end of October. So we will have hopefully more updates as we go along and get ready for that, but just wanted to let you know that's done. Thank you.
Any future agenda requests?
Yeah, I'd like to put something on the agenda about maybe exploring a farmer's market at the park over here. Or something like that.
Okay. Sorry. I could have mentioned, we did approve, there was a agenda item MDD approved last month in our meeting to have plans drawn for a farmer's market, community market in that area there at Wilson Park. And so they approved to negotiate with Westwood for a plan to be drawn. So actually heard from her this week. So I'm working with Leanne and Parks on negotiating that plan drawing, and we'll see what that comes back with and go from there.
Y'all want to race?
A race?
Y'all against us?
No, we are on board. We want to get that going too. So I'm happy to report that we passed that agenda item and we will have a plan drawn. Timeline on the drawings coming back. I need to look at that agreement. Just got it this week, the first. Yeah, they are. So, yeah. So Leanne and I met with them week and a half ago, and we already got the letter of negotiation for first agreement letter to review. So
If y'all are rolling on it, then can you just update us from time to time?
yes, I will. I should have mentioned that earlier, and I appreciate you bringing that up because I'm happy about it.
I guess I read your mind.
You did.
Add that to our staff updates.
Thanks, sir.
Do you have anything?
No, I was just gonna add. And our new position, will be helping us get that, our 15 replacement. So we've already drawn up some plans and we're on it.
How are we doing on the hiring process?
I think we completed most of the interviews today. And we had, I'm probably taking Shayna's thunder here. We had a lot of applicants, 4 to 6 with quite a bit of experience. Some good interviews.
For the record, I hate to lose her. She's done an outstanding job while she was here.
She has. We've already tried to sign her up for her kids, her third grade class to be in the parade. And on the record, be peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So now she has to do it.
There you go.
All righty. Well, that brings us to executive session. In accordance with Texas Government Code, section 551.001, the city council will recess in the executive session to discuss the following. Section 551.071. 1 and 2, consultation with attorney for items listed on the agenda. Section 551.072, real property for the items listed on the agenda. And section 551.071 and 551.074, personnel matters for the items listed on the agenda.
Motion to move into executive session.
Motion by Jeff, second by Randy, all in favor? Passes 4-0, time is 8:12.
Don't forget the better chairs for this next chamber. What do you do with it?
All right, we'll reconvene into open session. Time is 10:39. And we'll start with the first item. Man, that's a long one.
You don't have, Mary.
You don't have to read all of that, but there's a very specific motion that's required. So if you just want to. Which is in your agenda. There's a very specific motion
I got
that's
the motion.
required to approve the resolution.
I got the
So-
motion.
Okay, so if you just
Yeah,
want to,
hold on.
I mean, I would just read down through the address.
Okay, consider an act on a resolution of the city council of the city of Aubrey, Texas, finding that a public necessity exists and authorizing condemnation to acquire 29.688 acre fee simple tract and a 0.265 acre water utility easement for public purposes for a public project, including but not limited to municipal athletic fields, a water line pump station, water and wastewater transmission lines, public roadways, drainage, such appurtenant facilities as may be necessary and other public uses on real property generally described as being located at 418 South Magnolia Street, Aubrey, Denton County, Texas. In the San Francisco Trevino survey, abstract number 1243, property ID 51948.
Mayor, I move that the city of Aubrey authorize the use of the power of eminent domain to acquire a 29.688 acre fee simple tract and a 0.265 acre water utility easement on real property generally described as being located at 418 South Magnolia Street, in Aubrey, Denton County, Texas, in the Francisco Trevino survey. Abstract 1243, property ID 51948. Such property generally located on the southwest corner of US 377 and Blackjack Road, as more fully described and depicted in exhibits A and B of the proposed resolution for this item, for public purposes, for a public project, including but not limited to municipal athletic fields, a water line pump station, water and wastewater transmission lines, public roadways, drainage, and appurtenant facilities as may be necessary in other public uses, and adopt resolution number 974-24 with this first record vote applying to all units of property to be condemned.
I'll second.
Have a roll call vote on this one.
Yeah.
All right, motion by Jeff, second by Chuck. Jeff,
4.
Randy. 4. Chuck,
4.
Aaron,
Or
and Matt Jackson.
Do it.
So then Matt is absent.
Oh.
Billy, Nate? Is everything you needed on it?
Yes, sir. That's good.
Next is consider and take appropriate action regarding an assignment acknowledgement agreement for the High Point Ranch development.
And Mayor and Council, this is the High Point development. They've sold off various parcels to various property owners. And so this is a document to try to clean all that up and get the proper assignments to the proper and current property owners.
I'll make a motion to take appropriate action regarding an assignment acknowledgement agreement for the High Point Ranch development.
To approve.
To approve, I'm sorry. Approve and take appropriate action.
Also,
Motion by Aaron, second by Chuck, all in favor? Passes 4-0. Right next. All right, consider and take appropriate action regarding a cost participation letter agreement between the city, Lennar Homes of Texas Land and Construction LTD and Aubrey Blackjack Partners LLC related to the High Point Development Agreement to allocate costs for infrastructure improvements and authorizing the mayor or designee to execute necessary documents.
And this is the cost participation letter for the High Point developers to pay their proportionate share of the wastewater treatment plant and other improvements related to that.
I'll make a motion to approve the cost participation letter agreement between the city, Lennar Homes of Texas Land and Construction LTD and Aubrey Blackjack Partners LLC related to the High Point Development Agreement to allocate costs for infrastructure improvements and authorizing the mayor or designee to execute necessary documents.
Second.
Motion by Aaron, second by Jeff, all in favor? Passes 4-0.
you just had to get that one.
Motion to adjourn.
Aaron, 10:45. It's always, you get to a certain point.
We're still here.